Suicideboys are one of the most successful and well-known groups in the underground scene. Even though they are typically known for being underground artists, they still have many songs that are known by mainstream listeners. In 2021 alone, they had over 1.5 billion streams while being fully independent artists. But how did Suicideboys get to the point of extreme success that they are at, despite being an independent and underground rap group with little to no media coverage? Well, the story of Suicideboys is an inspiring one. It's a story of struggle and triumph, and it really demonstrates that hard work does pay off. From being broke to having songs with hundreds of millions of plays, Suicideboys have truly established themselves as underground legends. In 1989, Scott Arsenault was born, and the following year so was Aristos Petro. I hope I said that right. Scott, better known as Scrim, and Aristos, better known as Ruby DeCherry, were cousins that grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana. The cousins were pretty close growing up and would always get into trouble together. Scrim grew up in a pretty poor family, while Ruby grew up in a little more fortunate situation. The two both had a love for music from a pretty young age, as Ruby started playing instruments when he was 10, and Scrim got a janky turntable for Christmas when he was 13. Scrim continued DJing throughout his youth and eventually started DJing college parties. He also got into hosting mixtapes similar to what DJ Drama does. He was working in a furniture store and was also selling drugs when he learned that T-Pain produced a lot of his beats on GarageBand, and that really inspired him, so he decided to go out and buy a MacBook to start making beats. Scrim produces under the alias Bud Dwyer, which is a name based off of Robert Bud Dwyer, who is the state treasurer of Pennsylvania. In 1987, he called a press conference and proceeded to kill himself in front of everyone. So his producer alias and his group name kind of go hand in hand. Bud Dwyer produces the majority of the Suicideboys songs. While he was still working, he was already making money from beats and even got a deal with Universal Records, in which he said he got royally screwed over. He later got fired from his job for his tattoos, which he said was one of the greatest things that ever happened to him because he doubled down on his music. Meanwhile, like I said, Ruby started playing instruments when he was 10 and eventually played drums for a band called the Vapo Rats. He said he was in the band for about 12 years, but it wasn't really going anywhere because no one else really pulled their weight or cared like he did, so he eventually left. Ruby had also been working at his dad's restaurant and worked there up until 2015. In the early 2010s, they were both working on solo music. Scrim was making beats and dabbling in rap, and Ruby was also dabbling in production under the alias Oddenough the Snow Leopard. One thing you may notice is that both of them have many aliases, and it can get pretty confusing for new fans, and it was definitely confusing for me at first. Scrim especially refers to himself as many aliases, such as Slick Sloth, Young Scarecrow, Suicide Christ, and many more. Ruby is also known by names such as Suicide Leopard, Oddie, and the Seventh Ward Lord. While working on their own music, they would occasionally work together, and eventually realize that their music together sounded better. The first time Suicideboys would be seen on a song together was on the song Smoke a Sack on Scrim's 2013 mixtape Barbie Doll. After collabing a few more times in 2013, they decided to join together and form Suicideboys in 2014. They got their name from Scrim's song called Suicide that was performing well, so they began calling themselves the Suicideboys. At least that's what they said in their No Jumper interview. I read a bunch of articles that said they got their name because of a pact that I'm going to mention here in a second, so it could be either of these reasons or it could be both. A key factor of what led to Suicideboys' massive success can be seen from the very beginning of their career. They were sick of working 9-to-5 jobs and wanted to do nothing else other than music, so they made a pact that if music didn't work out by the time they were 30, they would kill themselves. That is a crazy kind of drive that most artists do not have. After getting fired, Scrim was grinding out making beats, selling some for money, and also selling drugs. Ruby continued working at the restaurant 4 days a week and would spend the other 3 days at Scrim's house grinding out content for Suicideboys. They said whether it was a video or a song, they had to get things done when they were together. Their hard work is evident because in their first year of making music, they put out 7 mixtapes. Their first mixtape, Kill Yourself Part 1, The Suicide Saga, featured the artists Bones and Trippy the Kid, which helped them start their career pretty strong right off the bat. This was the beginning of their Kill Yourself series, which has now spanned 20 EPs. Oftentimes though, the Kill Yourself EPs aren't super long and most usually only have 3 songs. At first, they tried promoting their music at a local level, but since that wasn't working, they focused more on their internet presence, posting music to SoundCloud and Bandcamp. They started out their career in 2014 pretty strong, building a solid discography and a small fan base, but in 2015, things would really change. Throughout the entirety of 2015, they released multiple projects, many of which would contain some of their most popular songs to date. They attribute a lot of their success to Puya, who reached out to them, which would lead to many collaborations. They released the song Southside Suicide with Puya in May of 2015, which absolutely blew up. Southside Suicide, following this collaboration, they released an entire project together in September. Their collaborations with Puya, who was already a well-established artist, really helped grow their audience. They also released the project My Liver Will Handle What My Heart Can't, which featured one of their biggest songs to date, Kill Yourself Part 3. They also released the project Now the Moon's Rising, which had the song Paris. In 2015, they put out more music than ever in a year, with 6 solo EPs, 5 collab EPs, and 6 mixtapes. They released a total of 125 songs that year, not including features. They started out 2015 with under 5,000 12,000 followers on SoundCloud and finished with over 50,000. This was truly a huge year for them. The bigger Suicideboys got, the more hate they got for things like their name, their lyrics, and their satanic imagery. A lot of people found their name and lyrics offensive in one of two ways. Either they were promoting self-harm and suicide, or they were using it for an aesthetic. However, both Ruby and Scrim have mentioned multiple times that what they rap about is what they live. Both of them have struggled with depression and addictions, and they rap about it as some sort of therapy. Many times they have both stated that they don't care for mainstream materialistic rap, but wanted to talk about things that were meaningful to them. They say that their music has actually helped fans connect more, letting people know that others are going through the same thing as them. They also hate when people say that they're talking about this stuff just for an aesthetic, and even went as far as to make a song called I Hung Myself for a Persona, which was clearly mocking the idea that this was just an aesthetic for them. As far as the Satanism goes, they say that all their satanic themes are just anti-religion. They claim that their devil-related imagery and lyrics are representative of their hatred for organized religion, and that they aren't actually devil worshippers. From then on, they continued releasing music and growing steadily. They released throughout 2016, with one of their most notable songs to come out of that year being Antarctica. They were also fully DIY until later in 2016 when they began to work with their managers Kyle Lanusin and Dana Biondi. Again, I hope I pronounced those names right. In 2017, they launched their own label, G59 or Gray 59 Records. On this label, they have signed artists like Ramirez, who they are frequent collaborators with. Other than distribution, they are still fully independent artists. They also released their last Kill Yourself EP, making a total of 20 parts to the Kill Yourself series. The following year, in 2018, they released their 43rd project and debut album, I Want to Die in New Orleans. By this time, most of their most popular songs would have been released, making them underground legends. Their hard work finally paid off. In following years, they released a collab project with Travis Barker, released another mixtape, and another studio album. As of now, they are on track to release their next album at the end of this month, which is titled Sing Me a Lullaby, My Sweet Temptation. So we see how Suicideboys' insane dedication led to their success, but does that really mean that they took over the underground? Are they even really underground legends? Well, I would argue that they are not only underground legends, but they are also one of the most influential groups in the underground this past decade. For example, they heavily influenced Lil Peep, who was a huge fan of theirs. Ruby said when they had 3,000 followers, Peep was hitting them up for features, and they were supposed to have a song together, but someone took the song and posted it without Peep's verse. Suicideboys met Peep a few times and brought him on stage in London and said that he knew every word to their songs. Suicideboys also brought XXXTENTACION on his first tour, the Southside Suicide Tour. I'm certain that a small piece of X's sound was probably influenced by Suicideboys. Peep and X are two of the most influential artists of this past generation, both pioneering emo rap and X having a huge influence over yell rap. So since they were both influenced by Suicideboys, that's pretty powerful. I'm sure they've also influenced tons more artists coming out in the new generation, especially in the SoundCloud scene. To this day, Suicideboys hardly have any media coverage and really aren't talked about nearly as much as they should be. With very few interviews, articles, placements, or playlistings, Suicideboys have accomplished a massive amount of success all independently just by putting in the work necessary and have built themselves a massive fan base. As of right now, they have over 8 million monthly listeners and are about to go on tour, bringing Snot, Ski Mask the Slump God, JPEG Mafia, and many more with them. Let me know in the comments below if I should spend $150 on a pit ticket. No one wants to go with me, but if you guys think I should, I'll go by myself. The impact and the story of Suicideboys has been very powerful. I find it interesting that there's hardly any YouTube videos like this on them on YouTube, and I think they're a little bit underrated in that sense. If you like this video, you might like my video where I talk about Ski and how he too outlived the SoundCloud era. Other than that, thank you guys for watching. This has been Matty Balls, and I'll see you guys next time.